In our ongoing investigation into the informal traders in Stellenbosch and local economic development in Stellenbosch as a whole, I'm going to examine a document called Local Economic Development Strategy, and it was drafted by the Stellenbosch Municipality. It's described as the third draft main report, and I would assume this date is when it was published, the 24th of October 2008. Now, today and in this video, we're just going to go through the introduction. In the future, I will possibly be drawing from this document more. It is a 44-page document, and it seems to be quite detailed. But today we're just going to look at the introduction, and I would like to make the comparisons between the ideals that the Stellenbosch municipality has and what their actions are currently. And I want to try and point out the disconnect between those two, the ideals and what is actually playing out on the ground. Introduction. Local economic development can be described as a process by which local government and community-based groups manage their existing resources and enter into new partnership arrangements with the private sector or with each other to create new jobs and stimulate economic activity in a well-defined economic zone. Okay, so that just sounds like a very fancy way of saying job creation. All right, so LED describes the process of government interaction or municipality interaction with local community groups, businesses in and around the town to stimulate job creation. In specific, they talk about specific zones, places like the CBD, places like Technopark, etc., etc. It is a process involving the formation of new institutions, the development of alternative industries, the improvement in the capacity of existing employers to produce better products, the identification of new markets, the transfer of knowledge, and the nurturing of new firms and enterprises. LED is therefore not one specific project or program, rather it is an approach focusing on strategies which include the sum total of the individual and collective contributions that build on opportunities and address economic development constraints. The aim is to enhance the area and the community's ability to adapt to and cope with changing economic conditions. Okay, so there we go. Another fancy way of saying working together individually and in groups to create a better economic way of being in the town. It talks about collective contributions that build on opportunities and address economic development constraints. You know, what is an economic development constraint? Basically, it's another fancy way of saying people are out of work. You know, there are many people out of work and they need to be given opportunities to sustain themselves in a legal and practical manner. A successful local economy is a prerequisite for the development of Stellenbosch. This LED strategy framework for the Stellenbosch municipality builds on previous initiatives and reinforces the view that Stellenbosch is a place of potential. Stellenbosch is well endowed with natural beauty. It is in close proximity to the economic hub of the Cape Town and has a large pool of retired skilled people. However, this potential will not be realized if large sections of the local community is unemployed, marginalized, and poor. Okay, so here they're stating what everyone already knows, and that's what a beautiful town Stellenbosch is, what great potential Stellenbosch has. But they make a very important point. They say, however, this potential will not be realized if large sections of the local community is unemployed, marginalized, and poor. So why over the last 26 days have they been working against the ideals? Why have they been marginalizing the poor, keeping people unemployed? They're working directly against their own ideals. Why? The particular focus of this initiative is thus on combining economic growth and poverty reduction at the local scale. The emphasis resonates with the Shared and Equitable Growth Trust of the Accelerated and Shared Growth Initiative of South Africa, ASGISA, and the Provincial Growth and Development Strategy (PGDS), while ensuring a broad base of support for LED across all the communities of the Stellenbosch. This report provides an outline of the strategic approach, the proposed interventions, and the institutional implications of the strategy for the local authority. It concludes with a proposed way forward, which translates the strategy into an implementation and monitoring framework. Okay, so here it's saying that this document, I haven't got to the end of it, I haven't read through it yet fully, but it is saying that it finishes with a proposed way forward, which translates the strategy into an implementation and a monitoring framework. Now, I would assume monitoring framework means, you're monitoring the process all the time to make sure that it's living up to the ideals. Clearly, that is not in place because they're not living up to the ideals. In fact, they are working exactly against the ideals. It'll be interesting to see how this document develops. Stellenbosch is undoubtedly one of the most scenic and historically recognized places in the world, with its namesake town being the second oldest settlement in the Western Cape. The total population of the Stellenbosch municipal area is estimated at 135,000 in 2006 and growing at an average rate of 2% per annum, while a significant 25,000, 80%, comprises students and academics. Historically, the majority of the residents in Stellenbosch area were predominantly Afrikaans speaking and remain so. Residents with Xhosa as their home language have always formed part of the local population, although they have been allowed to migrate to the areas freely since the 1990s. Okay, so here they're admitting how beautiful Stellenbosch is again, how historically significant it is in the world, and that it's the second oldest settlement in the Western Cape. So Stellenbosch is quite a place. They go into the population, 135,000 in 2006, 80% of that being of students, and they say that every year it grows at 2%. Historically, they say that Stellenbosch is a Afrikaans town, which would be predominantly white Afrikaans. They talk about residents with Xhosa as their home language have always been part of the population, but in the 1990s, after the abolishment of apartheid, they were able to migrate freely. The Stellenbosch municipal area includes the town of Stellenbosch, Franschhoek, as well as a number of rural hamlets such as Wemmershoek, La Motte, De Nova, Kaalmoor, Peniel, Johannesdal, Langerdok, Groot Drakenstein, Muldersvlei, Klapmuts, Elsenburg, Raithby, Jamestown, Koelenhof, and Flottenburg, most with a population of less than 5,000. Okay, so here it's describing the municipal jurisdiction of Stellenbosch, which includes Franschhoek, which is interesting, and then it also describes a number of rural places. The Eichstätt, city of oaks, together with Franschhoek and the surrounding award-winning wine farms, form the center of the wine industry in South Africa. It is also celebrated for hosting the world-class University of Stellenbosch, with the various faculty buildings forming an integrated part of the town's urban fabric. Stellenbosch has transformed its economy, which was originally based on agricultural activities, to service-related niche sectors such as finance, business, tourism, and science and technology. The latter is apparent through the research and innovation in the Stellenbosch Techno Park and its close relationship to the University of Stellenbosch. Okay, so here it's describing the wonderful wine farms that Franschhoek and Stellenbosch has. It's also celebrating the prestige of the University of Stellenbosch, and it describes the faculty buildings as being an integrated part of the town's urban fabric. It also talks about the way that Stellenbosch has transformed its economy from agricultural-based economy to moving to sectors such as finance, business, tourism, science and technology. So Stellenbosch really being a hub of, on the edge kind of businesses and technologies, and it talks about Technopark as being one of these innovations that works closely with the university. The small towns and villages, hamlets and their hinterlands are all an integral part of the Stellenbosch economy, where production, marketing and agricultural services are provided. They also render important administrative and social service functions and are strongly independent within the functional settlement hierarchy within the Cape Winelands. Stellenbosch main town prevails as the most developed town, not only in the local municipal area, but also within the Cape Winelands. Its services extend well beyond the municipal district, provincial and even national boundaries. Okay, so here it describes that the small towns and little villages all around Stellenbosch all form an integral part of the buzzing economic value of Stellenbosch. Okay, they talk about them also rendering important administrative and social service functions and are strongly independent within the functional settlement hierarchy within the Cape Winelands. And then then it goes on to say what a great town Stellenbosch is, how developed it is, and it is. But what I'm getting from this document is that, Stellenbosch is a town to be proud of. It is a very beautiful town. It is historically known around the world. They describe in this document, and this is just the introduction, how important it is to include everyone in the economic value of this town. I don't see anything in this introduction where it says people should be marginalized. In fact, it talks out against people being marginalized. So my question would be, why is the Stellenbosch Municipality marginalizing people and not allowing them to flourish and work in an environment that allows their businesses to grow and allows economic value to enter the town like this document is describing?